Well, I think every year you build upon the success that you had the year before, but I think that getting complacent is probably the most dangerous thing. And so we took a step back, so to speak, and looked at what made us successful in certain areas and what prohibited us from being successful in other areas. And so I feel we're going to use probably about 70% of what we did last year, just overall, to continue that success. And I think this year we've added some elements that I think are really, so far they've really paid off. You can literally see the difference in some of the people and how they're swimming and how they look. But I think just overall speaking about what our expectations for this year is, we want a high individual success rate. It's an individual sport. And I know we get conditioned and the expectations are to talk about where the team's going to place and all that. We can't control what other people do. So we're going to focus on ourselves. And again, if every person on the team does personal best, then at the end of the day, I've done my job and what I'm supposed to be doing here. We want to be competitive and we want to be relevant. I think if you compare programs, even in this conference, it's an apples to oranges. And we're going to focus on certain maybe dual meets and focus on really peaking performance at the conference meet. I think that all coaches can peak athletes, but I think the better coaches are ones that peak their athletes at the time that is needed the most. And I think that I failed last year at doing that. I think we had overall, if you look at our record board and our top times, phenomenal year, but for me, I look at the statistic of how many of those came at the conference meet, and I think we fell a little bit short of our expectations. And so with the addition of another two teams, we're going to use that competitiveness to our advantage, and adding more people that are good, we're going to swim with them. You know, higher competition brings out, you know, a higher level of intensity, and we're going to use that to our advantage. Yeah, I think that the newcomers add a certain amount of competitiveness, you know, on a daily basis. They're younger and they're really eager to get in some of the relay spots, and so having some more internal competitiveness, I think, is really good. And so, in addition to the newcomers, we've kind of sealed up some of the holes. We have we'll call it like a 2-deep roster now. I feel like we have more than one person in each event that can help us out, and that helps us. You know, there's just some athletes that just are not going to perform to our expectations and not respond to the training from week to week, and so we have someone else that is going to step up. And we also have some different relay configurations with the new people. We have a new assistant coach this year that I think's done a really good job of, you know, when we've given him autonomy in certain areas, he's done a really good job of just getting it done. And he's also done a really good job of taking care of specific tasks, and that's also a big part of the equation as well. And in terms of our returners, you know, my expectation for them is they've had at least 1 or 2 or 3 years in the system, and so they understand those expectations. And most of those they're not specific. They're being mentally tough on a day-to-day basis, exhibiting common sense on a daily basis, providing good leadership, and being mentally tough. That's what we rely on our returners. And performing in and out, whether it's, you know, beginning of the season and the end of the season. You know, again, I think we're going to be more successful across the board. But the newcomers have their additions that they bring, and then the older people have the task of providing leadership and consistency across the board with those new people that come in that are making our program better. We had multiple athletes that had qualified for the NCAA meet. They didn't get to participate due to the new cut system, and I think that's an exciting element to the Division II. Division II has now joined the way that Division I and III selects their process. I'd like to double the amount of provisional cuts and have 12 times that are provisionally eligible to compete at the NCAA meet. I'd like to have participation again on both men's and women's side. But to be more specific, I think one of the best goals that we have for that question is we want to be ranked in the top 25 nationally on relays. So that could mean that, you know, we could have some relays that are in the high teens and then maybe a relay that's in the upper 20s or whatever. But average, we'd like to average at the 25th spot or better. I think that's a pretty good indicator of the quality and depth of your program, across the board. It doesn't say, hey, you have just one person that can do this event or one stud, or you get lucky. But I think if you're averaging in the top 25, I think that's a very good indicator as to the quality of your program and what you have to offer.